Hello, my name is Jason, Head of Creative and Lead Illustrator here at Scribbleo. Just want to show you a quick video on how to use groups within Scribbleo itself, which is an animation software that we've created, which allows you to import SVG artwork from programs such as Adobe Illustrator and import them into our software and animate them. This uses a mixture of sort of hand drawing in style mixed with sort of motion graphic animation. You can see here I've created a little animation of a camper van being drawn in and then moving across the screen, and the hand continues to draw in some trees and a bit of background noise. So effectively, we're able within our software to not only draw in artwork, but also move that artwork while being drawn in or alongside of. So again, this is a very simple example of some of the things that you can do, and I'm just going to take you through how to create that in Scribbleo. If you look, if you look on the left hand side, I'm making use of groups, which is a really powerful feature within Scribbleo. And this allows you to group certain bits of artwork together, like the van, and that means you can animate that and move that across the screen. So you'll see along the bottom there's lots of different layers here that have all got keyframes and have been animated. So I'm going to show you a much simpler version of this, just to keep it short and sweet. So if I go to my projects and open up this one, this project has only a few assets in it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just move the van across, the camper van across the scene rather than the whole background moving, which just takes a little bit longer. So I want to keep this short and sweet. So you'll see here that I've imported the artwork already, and you can select these, move these around, get them positioned as you would want. So I'm just going to put the tree there, put a little bush there, and this is artwork that is available within the marketplace within Scribbleo, so you're free to download and use and have a play yourself. So I'm going to put that there. So effectively just set up the scene as you would want. You can zoom in and out, move the scene around, which is right clicking on the mouse, so you can really look at the details. If you want to line up anything really accurately, you've also got options to turn a grid on. You could also, if you don't want to use the grid, you can drag guides in there and there, and then you can use that to line up. So you've got a few options on how to line things up. There's also the ability to snap to grid. So if you've got the grid or guides enabled and you click this little icon up here on the top right, when you move something around, there you go, when it's set to lock, you'll see that it snaps to the grid, and this is basically based on the pivot point of the artwork, and the pivot point by default is set to the middle. So if you want to change that, you can do so under properties, and here's the anchor point here. So if I was to set that to 0, then basically that's moved over to the left, so that will now snap to grid based on that. But because that's the wheel, I want to keep that central, so I'm going to keep that snapped there, but I don't really want it snapping because I don't need to be that specific, and I'm going to turn off the grid and turn off guides. So I'm going to position the wheel roughly there. That looks good. And then obviously there should be a wheel at the back, so what I'm going to do is duplicate that layer, and then I'm going to move that across to there. I will just turn on the grid just temporarily, just so. There we go. And as you can see, that wheel is in front and I want that to be behind. So what you can do is you can just grab that layer, drag it behind. So I've got that one now behind the main camper van image. And you can obviously duplicate as much of the artwork as you want, move it around and change the layer structure. So for example, that bush is right at the back, but you can just drag it up there and it will appear in front. So you just basically can play around with these as much as you like. Then what I want to do is, before I start animating this van, I want to group it up because I'm going to move it as a group with the camper van and the two wheels. So I'm going to add a group, which appears at the top, and then I'm going to drag the van into that group along with its wheels. And that wheel there is at the front. And there you go. So that's now all contained within one group. And what I want to do is I'm going to fade the background in after a time. So I think my plan is to fade it all in. So I'm going to put all these background elements into a group as well. So I'm going to drag that group down and then put all of those in that group. So now you can see that I can turn that on and off and they're all grouped together. So I've got two groups, one for the van, one for the background. And then with the background, what I'm going to do is look at the properties for that group, and I'm going to turn the opacity down, and then that's going to fade in there. So if I just play that, the background fades in nicely. That's fine. So I'll leave that like that for now. Then what I'm going to do with the van is I want the wheels to be spinning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in the camper van first and then the wheels. So I'll do some animation on the camper van. So at the very beginning, I'm going to want that to draw in. So we start at 0. Let's put a keyframe in there by clicking that little icon there. And then I want it to finish drawing that there, and that automatically adds a keyframe. So if I now play that, you can see the van being drawn in. So that's fine. And then roughly in time with the end of that animation, I want to draw in the front wheel. So I'll set that to draw in there and finish there. And the same for the back wheel. I'm going to get that so that draws there and zooms out there. So you'll see every time you're adding a keyframe, it appears in the timeline. If you want to change the timing of the wheel from when it's being drawn in, you can just drag that along. So you can say, right, I want that one to draw in a bit quicker, that one there to draw in soon. So you could draw that in, pop, pop, pop. There we go. So that actually times, if you look at that, that draws in quite nicely, so I'm probably happy with that. Yep, so that's fine. So now what I want to do is, once I've drawn in the wheels, I want to rotate the wheels to make it look like they're moving. So at the point that I finished drawing it in, I want to start a rotation. So add a keyframe, and then I'll go to the end of the animation. I'll zoom out a bit. So let's go to there. Add another keyframe, and let's say I want that to be 900 rotation. So if you now zoom in, you'll see that wheel is rotating. And again, you can adjust that. You can either move the keyframe, change the amount of rotation, just to get the balance right. But I'm going to just run with that for now. I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to do the same with the back wheel. So the back wheel is drawn in there. So I'll set a rotation keyframe, jump to the end, enter another rotation, and I'll make that 900 as well. So there you go. So both wheels are rotating. And again, you can play around with that until you get the look you want. And then what I want to finally happen is for the van to move across the screen. So I select the group, and I'm going to actually make it so that the van is always moving. So even when the van is being drawn in, it's actually moving as well. So I'm going to set a keyframe right at the start on the position, and then right at the end, I'm going to move it right across to there. So effectively, as it's drawing in, it's already moving across the screen. Now, the one thing that's missing is the actual drawing hand itself. So you can sometimes it's quite nice just to leave it like that because it's quite a nice sort of style in itself. But other times you want to add a marker pen to make it look like it's actually being drawn in by hand. So if I select those three hands, you can just select one hand or multiple hands if you want the hand to look like it's swapping out. It really depends on what you've got, which you've added to the project. So I'm going to add those three hands. They appear here, and so now if I preview the animation, you'll see that the hand is now drawing that in, and it's only in preview mode, so it's a little bit jerky until you actually do a full render, which I'll show you at the end of this video. And that's basically it. So that's showing you how to use groups. And really sort of create something quite interesting in Scribbleo, which you're not really able to do in other systems in quite the same way. So I hope you found the tutorial interesting, and if you could like and follow, that'd be great, and see you next time.